Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the new Masters of the Universe Origins King Hiss. This is another one of the deluxe figure sets. As you can see, King Hiss, dreadful disguised leader of the Snake Men. Another figure from the Snake Men line. Got additional parts here. Now this is very different from our vintage King Hiss, where the parts popped off and the snake was hidden underneath. With this one, you're actually just putting the parts onto him. As you can see here, kind of interesting. I guess it's a logical way to do it with a new line. But let's take a look at the artwork here. Freed from imprisonment, King Hiss leads the Snake Men to conquer Eternia. So we got King Hiss versus Snake Armor He-Man, and we got our Snake Tila in the background there as well. Cross-cell art, Thunder Punch He-Man, Snake Armor He-Man, Boltman, Cobra Khan, Radlor, and of course, our King Hiss. Very cool. I was happy to pick this one up. Some of these have just been really difficult to find, and I got lucky and picked this one up on Entertainment Earth. So yeah, cool. Let's go ahead and get this thing open, because I want to get him out and compare him to our vintage. We'll get that out in just a minute. But let's see what we got here. We'll start over on this side where the accessories are. Those will all just fall right out. Keep our card back. Pop our King Hiss out. Nice. It's a good looking figure. It's very looks very much like our vintage, at least on the surface. Now with the comic, we get Heart of the Snake, which we've already seen before with some of these other figures. Just to flip through real quick if you hadn't seen it yet. Really interested in this. I've got to get Radlor so I can try a custom out with Mechanic. That would be cool. So yeah, there's our comic. And we have our removable parts guide with a little diagram showing the head, arms, the boots, and we can pop him off at the waist. So very cool. Set that aside. Let's go ahead and get King Hiss out. We're just going to rip those off. There we go. So this is all new sculpting. We haven't seen any of this yet on any of the other figures. The detail on this is really nice. So I am curious though, before we get into all the accessories, what is actually underneath here, because this is different than what we're used to seeing. If I can get this to pop open. Oh, okay. So underneath is the snake body. All right, so that's cool. Let's go ahead and let's look at the accessories. All right, so you have removable arms, and you can put these snake arms in place. Also the snake head. And of course he comes with the shield, just like the vintage, and the snake staff, just like the vintage. But let's see what really sets this apart from our vintage figure. Let's pop the arms off. There's 1, 2. Got the head off. Check that out. That's so weird. Get the head. This is bizarre. Now these are adjustable, but the pegs seem to be a little stiff. There we go. There's that one. There we go. That is a different take on on King Hiss. Very weird, but very cool. Very cool that they were able to do something so different. So by comparison, this is a much more accurate version of this King Hiss from what we're used to seeing with the vintage figure. So I'm going to lower the camera down, and we're going to bring in our vintage King Hiss. So bear with me just a moment. All right, so we're back, and we have our new King Hiss next to our vintage. Now, our vintage still has all his armor and pieces on, and we'll set this over here just so you can kind of see, because we'll put it all back together here in just a minute. But as you can see, it's got the same snake staff. Now, I don't have his original shield, but what happens with our vintage, the arms pop off, and then the armor pops off, and that's really all you get. It's not a whole lot to it. These little weird snake arms. The head isn't posable. There's really not a whole lot you can do. But it was neat at the time. This is a great upgrade to this figure. Now, I like the gimmick of hiding the piece behind the armor on this. But for modern toys, this makes much more sense. Now, I will say that it is kind of difficult to get this to stand. You have to do a little bit of balancing because these are heavy pieces. But it is doable, as you can see. And it is cool that the snake heads in place of hands are adjustable. And you got all this different articulation you can add in. But yeah, it is kind of difficult to stand. You really kind of got to just get it balanced. Yeah, so that's a little difficult. What do you think? That's a major upgrade. To keep the same vibe and feel of the original character, but upgrade it to a much more accurate representation. Because I mean, really, this was neat at the time, but this is really not a good action figure. So let's put it all back together. Put his armor back on. The arms. I'm not going to worry about putting the snake staff on him. So let's go ahead and reverse this and put him back to his standard form. All right, so you got to put the armor on first, which is I really like this. This is a much better figure than I thought it would be. It just feels like a better quality than some of the others. Now the balancing part, that's a little different, a little difficult to deal with, but it's okay. Pop the arms on. All right, so we'll move all this extra stuff out of the way, and let's just on the surface look at King Hiss in his more humanoid form. And we'll compare these two. Now, there's a lot that's the same, a lot of the similarities. Color-wise, now the hands and gloves are a different color, but everything else matches up pretty good. Let's look at the back. The scaling and stuff on the armor, even the way the little piece that goes around the back, the silver, all that matches up. And of course, this is the old school where you can still see the hidden snake arms underneath. So that was never like a fun thing to deal with. It was kind of hard to hide. That's a much better figure. So this is a win for me. This is one of those upgrades that I think really made sense. There might be some purists that would be like, no, I wish it still had that gimmick. And I mean, I get it. Some people prefer the old school gimmicks, and it makes sense on some stuff. But if you're gonna do one of these figures and do it in a deluxe form, and you know, the extra head and extra arms, that's a sell for me. That's a way to really get me on these figures, because if they just recreated this, what was the point of buying it? You know, so that's one way I kind of look at it with a lot of the Origins figures. If they're not doing something different with it, then, you know, if it's just adding the articulation, sometimes all the added articulation is not enough for me. But if you're giving me something like this, where you're really changing it up and improving the overall look of the figure, improving the features, that's a sell. So that's going to do it for this one. Try to keep it short and sweet, but yeah, this is the new King Hiss Deluxe set. Sound off in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Have you picked this one up yet? Do you got it on pre-order anywhere? Just let me know what you're thinking. And give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And I will see you again soon. Thanks for sticking around, guys. Have a good day.